Hello. This video is going to be dealing with order of operations. This is dealing with the order you want to perform calculations in. If you want your math to work correctly, this is extremely important. All calculators and computers follow this. Every level of math follows this, from basic algebra and basic number theory all the way up through calculus. So it is one of the most important things you can learn. So what we're going to do is we will be going through several examples. We're going to first talk about what order of operations is, and then we're going to go through a number of examples. So the first thing is knowing this phrase, Pemdas. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That's the phrase that I've always used to learn it. Each of these stands for a different operation, and we always go in this order from the P all the way down through the S. The P stands for parentheses. Parentheses meaning our round grouping symbols, our square grouping symbols known as brackets, and these weird curly grouping symbols called braces. P just means do what's inside first. E is for exponents, also known as powers. Now, MD and AS are a little bit unusual. MD stands for multiply and divide. AS is add and subtract. Now, the reason I circled them is we always do these in order from left to right. You do not always do multiply before divide and add before subtract. You can do divide first if it's to the left of the multiply. You can do subtract first if it's to the left of the add. Of course, if any of these are inside parentheses, then they automatically go first. Now that we've got that all set up, we're going to take a look at example problems. Now, each of these problems has several operations. If you only have one thing to do, then that's it. You don't need to worry about PEMDAS. But when we have multiple ones, it does matter. So we have 3 minus 2 plus 3 times 6. Remember, the little dot means times. Now, I have a times, I have a subtract, and I have an add in here. So I have 3 operations. PEMDAS says that multiply must happen before add and subtract. So this is the first thing we're going to deal with. Now I'm going to write the other items down since I'm not dealing with them yet. 3 minus 2 plus 3 times 6 is 18. Now, so that's gone. Now, since I just have add and subtract left, I just work from left to right. So I'm going to start right there. 3 minus 2 is 1, and then I'm going to copy everything else down. So that's gone. Now 1 plus 18 is 19. So that's gone. I'm down to my final answer of 19. I went step by step, one at a time. Don't try to make big leaps till you get really comfortable with this and you're always getting it right. So let's clear that. Okay, so now let's look at a little bit different of one. 3 parentheses 2 minus 4, big division sign, and a 2. The way we normally say this is 3 times, so I'm going to put a little time symbol in there, the quantity, that's what those parentheses are called, the quantity of 2 minus 4 all over 2. That's what we call that big fraction bar. Now in here we have a times, we have a subtract, and we have this division here. Now like we said, parentheses is first, P. So everything inside the parentheses has to happen before anything on the outside. So I'm going to copy it down. So we have 3 times 2 minus 4 is negative 2 all over 2. So this part is gone. Now I've got a times and a divide. We can't usually use the left and right here, but since the times is on top of the entire division, that's sort of like being on the left. We do have to deal with that first. So I'm going to do 3 times negative 6. That's going to give, or 3 times negative 2, that's going to be negative 6 divided by 2. So this is gone. Now we just have this left. That's our last step. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. So that's gone. So that gives us our answer of negative 3. Okay, now remember there is a big difference between a big fraction bar and a little fraction bar. This big fraction bar, you've got to complete everything on top of it first before you can start dividing anything up. So even though we see a couple of 2's in the original, you cannot combine them. It's not allowed. Take care of each step at one at a time. Okay, so now we're going to look at one that's a bit more complicated. So 3 times 2 divided by 3 plus 5. So now we have a times there, we have a divide there, we have an add there, and then this is a multiply here. First thing we're going to start with, though, is this parenthesis. So I'm going to drop down the 2 times, and in the parenthesis, we have this times. There's a times and a divide. The times is on the left, so it goes first. So 3 times 2 is 6 divided by 3. We're going to close it and put plus 5. Now we have this divide. Now I know this times is on the left, but there's parentheses, so it goes first. So we're still going to have the 2 times. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Close it and put a plus 5. Now we're able to deal with this times. 2 times 2 is going to give us 4. And we still have plus 5. Now I've got one more operation. 4 plus 5 is going to give us 9. So there's our answer. Again, step by step. Once you get comfortable with this, you might be able to find some shortcuts or be able to do a couple things at the same time. We're going to look at that situation now, but you need to be very careful. Now, this is a really large one. As you head towards higher level math, you need to be able to handle a bunch of them all chained together. Okay, so first on here we have several things. We have 2 to the third power, so there's a exponent. we have a subtraction here. There is a times right there. There is another times, I'm just reading from the left to the right there. There's a 2 plus 1, and there's a minus 4. Now notice I have parentheses and I have brackets. The parentheses are on the inside. Whenever you have a couple of parentheses, brackets, braces, or grouping symbols, go from the inside out. So what I want to do is I'm going to deal with this first. Now there is one other thing that I'm going to do at the same time. All the way on the left, sort of floating by itself, is this 2 to the third. I'm going to, since it's so far away, it's not going to really be affecting anything, so I'm going to do it at the same time. 2 to the third power, so 2 times 2 times 2 is going to give us 8 minus 3 times brackets, 3 times, and then 2 plus 1 is going to give us another 3 minus 4, and I'm going to close the bracket. Now, the next one is that. There's a multiply on the inside of the bracket, so that goes next. So 8 minus 3 is bracket 9 minus 4. Now I do the rest of the inside. 9 minus 4, so 8 minus 3. 9 minus 4 is going to give us 5. Remember, that's a minus sign there. Now I've got this times to deal with. So that's going to be 8 minus 15. So that's our next step, 8 minus 15, which is going to give us negative 7. So there's our final solution. Remember that it's just doing it step by step following Pemdas. Just go in order, and if you do that, you shouldn't have that much trouble with these. Just always follow the steps.